Well, hey everyone, and welcome to another tactical review live stream. Hope everyone is having a great afternoon. If you are up here in the frozen Midwest, I hope that you are having safe travels. If you are traveling right now, turn off the stream and pay attention to driving. If you are out plowing snow and just listening, well, you're doing better than most, because I do have a face for radio. Let's see, anybody in the chat yet? I did see Brownie said hi earlier. Managed to get the jump on him with the first comment in the chat here a couple hours back. So we will give just a few moments for folks to get into the chat, and we will get going here this evening. Tonight, you know, whatever it is. And, you know, who knows, maybe you are joining us from the West Coast and it's still early evening for you. So, who we got in the chat right now? I see 4 people watching. Somebody's already given me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. But nobody's talking to me yet. I'm talking to myself, and that's always dangerous. While we are waiting, let's see, I don't want... Hey! Mark 18, you just bought 50 pounds of powdered water off of eBay. Okay. Okay. I'll tell you what, Mark 18, actually, while you are buying things, why don't you click the link up there at the top of the chat and go pick yourself up some handy dandy tactical review channel merch. I've got one t-shirt design. I am trying to rack my brain, come up with others. I have, whatever you want to say. You guys have, if you buy it. I've got a couple of different coffee cup designs and some stickers. So I do plan on trying to get some more stuff designed up and uploaded, but for right now, I've had a few of you folks have been asking me for channel merchandise for months, and I have just been at a loss as to what print-on-demand company to use, because as you can see, I don't have room to be storing a lot of inventory. So I finally went with Teespring. I tried to keep my prices fair. If you guys have any suggestions, by all means reach out to me through any of the various ways that we have to do that. But anyway, George Washington, thinking about finally piecing together first 300 black build. Point of diminishing returns as far as barrel length. I'll tell you who has a great video on that. I wish that I could link to my own and say, hey, I've got all the information, but I don't. Mike over at Mr. Guns and Gear has an excellent video on 300 blackout barrel length. So what I can tell you is that in my 7.5 inch barrel, my Fiocchi Extrema SST 125 grain is rated at 2,300 something feet per second out of a 16 inch barrel, and I do still get around 1,950, 1,960 feet per second out of that. So I can tell you, you can do the math on that and figure out what your percent of loss is from a 16 inch to a 7.5 inch barrel. As far as point of diminishing return, I can't tell you what that is. I can tell you that every 300 blackout that I've looked at does use a pistol length gas system. So I'm gonna guess that someplace between 16 and 22 inches, you're gonna see that point of diminishing returns where your dwell time no longer gives you any benefit. All right. Well, I'm not exactly sure where I want to start with this, but let's start with some humorous stuff. Well, it's Mark 18. I'll tell you what you need to get is one of the Potavac loaders right there. If you're so inebriated you can't use that, you're too drunk to actually operate the firearm. Anyway, speaking of drunk, and which leads me to think about less than cognizant conversation. That is a very diplomatic way to put this. If you follow the channel on Instagram, or on Facebook, you saw me post this video earlier. But let's cut across right now to our good buddy Double Barrel Joe. And let's just hear what he has to say while he was lambasting Senator Sanders. Senator? Representative? Good old Bernie, whatever. While he was lambasting Sanders' support or failure to support holding firearms manufacturers accountable for harm caused with their goods. We'll talk more about that after this.
150 million people have been killed since 2007 when Bernie voted to exempt the gun manufacturers from liability. More than all the wars.
I really got a kick out of Sanders sitting there holding his hand up. I'm not sure. I didn't watch the debates. I should probably be better informed than that, but I have other things to do. Anyway, to start with the unpacking of that. All right, so the first thing is that Biden's press corps reached out on Twitter and said that he misspoke, and what he meant to say was 150,000. That's a pretty big difference. Like, when you consider the fact that there is 1,000, 100,000s. Wait, nope, now I'm getting ready to do it. Oh, it's too late for me to math. Tell you what, I've got my good buddy the calculator here. Let's Mark 18, that would mean that it's only half the US population in the last 12 years. I did some math on that. So the fact of the matter is that in round figures, something around 10,000 folks are murdered every year by firearms. Now, if you looked at my Instagram and Facebook post earlier, you would see that from 2014 to 2018, there were 48,549 people murdered by firearms. Now, let's just say, because the left really... Hang on. I've got to quit saying the left. In this case, we're talking about the Democrats. I'll grant you that. Statists. All right? Because it doesn't matter if it's the left or the right. Whoever's trying to grab our guns, they are an enemy. So the gun grabbers, they really like to take total deaths by firearms. Okay? They ignore the fact that substitution exists and that somebody intent on destroying themselves will use whatever is at hand. But we'll go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt. So roughly 60% of all firearms deaths every year are suicide. So that means that from 2014 to 2018, 48,549 is roughly 40% of what the total deaths wherein they were caused by a firearm occur. 48, 549 times 100 divided by 40. That means in that time period, roughly or approximately 121,372 people would have died total by a firearm. Now we're going to multiply that by a -1, make that negative, and then we're going to add that to our 150 million people. Which would mean that in order for his statistics to be true, because he said since 2007, so it's 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, or in 13. Okay, so that's 6 years. So we're going to divide this by 6. That would mean that every year for his numbers to be accurate, 24,979,771 people would have to either be murdered or destroy themselves with a firearm. That's a lot of people. Let's break that down even further. There's roughly 365 days in a year, right? For his numbers to be accurate, every year from 2008 through 2013, every day, 68,437 people would have had to have been destroyed, either murdered or by their own hand, using a firearm. That's like the entire population of like the 4 surrounding counties around me. I mean, Joe, unless they've started performing abortions with a shotgun, your numbers don't work, buddy. And I know you wouldn't count that because y'all don't count an abortion as ending a human life. Except when you do. Yeah, we're not going to get into that any further because trying to think like y'all's camp gives me a headache. All right. Show George Washington, Biden is a dirtbag. I do not disagree with you. Mark 18, Biden is a moron. Yes, he is. Vanessa, hi. I just saw you joined in the chat. Let's see who I've missed here. Vanessa, I specifically made sure that I have ladies' styles of the channel merchandise t-shirts available too. Because I know that we guys are lucky. Like, we can have one style and it basically fits all guys. I really actually feel bad for you ladies because there's like 18 different cuts of shirts and stuff, and yeah, I don't know. Poor Conservative's here. How you doing, Poor Conservative? Biden is so stupid he thinks that a constitution means you're having trouble taking a poop. Yes, that's a good one. So anyway, yeah, here's the deal. Even for him, like I said, his press agent, one of his press agents, somebody reached out on Twitter and confessed that Mr. Biden misspoke. We know. And he meant 150,000. The problem with that is that once again, let me pull up my handy dandy calculator, and so 150,000 49. I mean, here's the problem. Is that he's still roughly 50% too high. Because I've used the actual FBI statistics from 2014 to 2018 to get my 48,549. And that includes gang violence and violence during drug deals and things like that too. That is total homicides. And so that would leave us with, for his 150,000 to be accurate, 101,451 lives to be accounted for. Over a 6-year span, that is 16,908 individuals lost to homicide. And once again, the average is something around 9 to 10,000. Your math doesn't work, Joe. I mean, A+ on the effort. And then let's just digest the rest of your statement, because what you were really attacking Bernie about was the fact that he voted to not hold firearm or not allow firearms manufacturers to be civilly liable when their products are used by a criminal to do criminal things. Well, what about this? Do we hold alcohol manufacturers liable when somebody dies due to cirrhosis of the liver and they were a lifelong alcoholic? If I go down to my local Home Depot store and I rent a truck and then find a 5K race and drive through all those runners and I kill 10 people, are we going to sue Chevrolet? See, the thing is that we don't hold the same accountability across the board. And we're still not comparing apples to apples, because the right to self-defense is a constitutionally protected civil liberty. We're talking about our civil rights here versus driving a vehicle. That's a privilege. We take it for granted. Okay, we have become so spread that we view it as a necessity, we view it as a right, but we can downsize our lives to the point where we could commute via bicycle or on foot. And in the city, a lot of people do that anyway. They use mass transit. They don't own a vehicle. It's a privilege. All right? If you are watching my stream and you are absolutely crap-faced and plastered, number one, it'll probably make it more enjoyable. But number two, that's your right. I'm not suggesting that we take that away, but it's a privilege, honestly. Unless you go back to the Declaration of Independence and we lump that under one's right to the pursuit of happiness, it's not an equal playing field when we compare things like that. And that's one of the logical fallacies that we as Second Amendment supporters, we fall under. Because when we try to draw parallels to explain why these proposed gun laws are so asinine, we look at things like automobiles. We look at things like alcohol. And those things aren't constitutionally protected rights. So we're automatically downgrading our right to keep and bear arms because there's very few other civil liberties are under attack in the same way. Or they are, and people so willingly give them up. Anyway, let me jump over here to the chat before we go on. And by saying hi to each other, yeah. Yeah, Vanessa. Yeah, his stats say 11,000 people died every day. Yeah, his math doesn't work. We know his math doesn't work. Mark 18. You watched 20 minutes more of it than I did. I've got another video clip that I picked up. I started following Men of Arms on Instagram. And I caught a couple clips, and I can't do it. I ride the struggle bus hard to follow this stuff. I've said it before. There's a reason that I went through so much of my life barely keeping my finger on the pulse of politics. There's blatant stupidity on both sides of the aisle. Now, number one, we shouldn't just have two sides of the aisle. All right, we've talked about that. Well, we're to the point where you've got to, for your vote to count, in quotes, you got to vote a Democrat or Republican. And that disenfranchises so much of the United States. If I've got to pick between one of those two, I definitely more fall into one camp. But I still don't feel truly represented over there. All right. We're kind of caught up on the chat, I think. So hey, let's take a look at another gaffe here. We had good old Moneybags Mike. He chimed in with this one, and let's see if you catch his near slip of the tongue where he almost told the truth.
On the record, they talked about 40 Democrats. 21 of those were people that I spent $100 million to help elect. All of the new Democrats that came in, put Nancy Pelosi in charge, and gave the Congress the ability to control this president, I got them. Number two, when you talk about money, let's put this in perspective.
Did you catch it? He started to say, I bought them, and he's like, whoa, wait a minute. I can't admit to the fact that I'm actually buying legislators, right? So yeah, he caught himself real quick and said, I got them. But yeah, Mike, kudos to you for almost telling the truth. We know the facts. You have bought and paid for at least your share of politicians. I think it's funny that the anti-gunners always love to talk about the NRA and how the NRA tampers with elections and the NRA buys politicians and this and that and the other thing. And I think the numbers are something like in 2016, the NRA spent like $34 billion, or $34 billion, no, look, hey, I've got Joe Biden math going on. $34 million during the election. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Bloomberg has already spent over $50 million on trying to influence the 2020 election. And I'd like to go on record as saying, as little as I would typically defend the NRA didn't have anybody running for president, Mr. Bloomberg. I'm going to say it again, election tampering. Hey! Oh my goodness. Yes, DAC9894 in the chat. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Absolutely. And that's where we definitely have to be, we have to exercise some care. All right. And if nothing else, in the Pro 2A camp, we've got to work on patching. We've got FUDs, and we've got this, and we got that, and we got the other thing. We got rhinos, and the only thing we've got going for us is that right now the Democrats are just as divided as we are. Anyway, I want to say a special thank you to DAC9894 because once again, if you guys haven't been watching the channel long enough to see the very first time that I used the channel intro that is now on all of my videos, and I roll it before my live streams, DAC9894 is the creator of that intro, and I appreciate it so much. You other content creators, If you are needing some graphical design, some computer design stuff done, you can reach out to DAC9894 on Instagram and see if he has any availability to help you out. He does great work. You can see it in what I'm running, and he does work for a local media company as well. He does awesome work, and I really appreciate him being a friend of the channel. Pete Booty Fudge has an incredibly punchable face. Hey, you know, I saw something today. Gosh, this might be hashtag fake news. But somebody zoomed in on the infamous picture of old Mayor Pete in his ACUs. The last uniform name that I knew for sure was BDU, battle dress uniform, and I know that was like traditional multicam, or I think I know that. Anyway, but the picture where he's holding the M4, and he's saying, you know, these are weapons of war and they have no place on our streets. And somebody zoomed in on his sunglasses, and they've said during the time when he served that the weapon he was holding is not correct for an issued weapon. And when you zoom in on the reflection on his sunglasses, he's actually standing in a parking lot. Now, yeah, I guess I just there's parking lines and everything, and now that I think about it, because if he would have been qualifying, he wouldn't have been allowed to take the rifle out to where he could have gotten a picture with it. And if he was in an active combat zone, I don't think they have lots of parking lots with painted lines, and I don't know. Once again, I didn't serve, so I'm going by what I've been told by others who have, but maybe seems legit. Yeah, I really always question somebody who served and then comes back and they are going to go all anti-gun, because a lot of the patriots I know who served in combat zones are very vocally in support of the citizens' right to keep and bear arms, because they've seen what happens overseas in these countries where folks don't have the right to keep and bear arms, and they're oppressed by their government, they're oppressed by whatever militant group wants to roll through, because they have no way to defend themselves. So, yeah. Mark 18, never saw combat transport only. You know what's funny is that I have a friend who's an 88 Mike in the reserves, and he's seen his share of firefights too. So, c'est la vie. He's not in anymore. It turns out, working on diesel engines, much like other friend of the channel, Elias, who worked on F-16 engines, turns out that the crap in there is bad for your lungs, and not everybody wears their PPI like they're supposed to. Me too. I hate PPI. Okay, let's start digging into news headlines here. Well, headlines, concepts, and we've gotten through the Democratic debate. So somebody, for the last couple of live streams, was asking me about the Interstate Act, and I was clueless. Somehow I didn't catch this. Well, I managed to find some information about that. That's FOPA, the FOPA? It says in here somewhere. Anyway, I haven't. The article I have is from, the first article I have is from January 10th. And This was introduced by Senator Steve Daines. Last year it was the Lawful Interstate Transportation of Firearms Act. And basically what it makes, though, is for instance, I do my level best. If I have to travel westward, I go south and west so that I can avoid the People's Republic of Illinois, because I don't want to deal with, all of the hoops you have to jump through. And this is where, somebody's campaign promises of nationwide constitutional carry would have been great. Because here I am, a law-abiding citizen who legally carries to defend himself and his family, and now I need to jump through all these hoops and pay attention to all of these crazy asinine laws that are unconstitutional just to go through, in this instance, Illinois. It's dumb. The only update I have found on FOPA, or the Lawful Interstate Transportation Act, is from a few days ago, February 21st. GOA did mention that they are supporting it. Obviously, it was introduced in the House of Representatives by Alabama Representative Mo Brooks. So, I wish I had an action link on this. And, FOPA, the Firearms Owner Protection Act. There that is. So, anyway, I don't have an easy action link, unfortunately. What I can do is get you guys some links so that you can read about this yourself. Links coming into the chat here. And reach out to your representatives and your senators and let them know that you would like them to support the Lawful Interstate Transportation of Firearms Act. I wish I could give you a bill number. I don't have one of those. But I'm sure that if you reach out to your representatives and tell them what you're talking about, they will absolutely know, one way or the other, what we're talking about here. Hey, Alaskan Ballistics is in the house. Drive slow and keep it concealed. That's not necessarily bad advice. Once again, we are talking about the difference between legality and morality. Or the old school saying, I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. By and large, if nobody knows, then nobody knows. I can neither confirm nor deny that I went to a gun show a few weeks back, and they had a sign almost as tall as me. No loaded firearms beyond this point. I can neither confirm nor deny that in my waist at the 12 o'clock position was a Glock 19 loaded to capacity with one in the chamber with a spare 17 round mag in the sidecar. Neither confirm nor deny that information. So anyway, poor conservative retracted a message there. All right, other good stuff that's going through the House right now is the SAFER Act, or the Second Amendment for Every Registrable, that's a fun word, Registrable Voter Act, introduced by Kentucky Representative Thomas Massey, that basically reverts part of the Gun Control Act of 1968, which was when they raised the handgun purchase age to 21. That this act, or this bill, would drop that age back to 18, and hopefully, I would assume, would also drop the handgun ammunition purchase age back to 18. And Yeah, there's so many states. The state of Indiana is a good example. In the state of Indiana, an 18-year-old can get his or her carry permit. Now, the fact that we have a carry permit bothers me. I'd rather see constitutional carry. I've got to take what I have. Anyway, an 18-year-old can get his or her carry permit, but cannot legally purchase a handgun to carry, nor can purchase ammunition for said handgun if they received one as a gift. This is stupid. So, anyway, while you are reaching out to your representatives, go ahead and tell them thumbs up on English, it's hard. House Resolution 5716. Thumbs up on that. And if you want to read a little bit more, I've got a guns.com article right here from just a couple days ago. At least we have a lifetime carry permit. Yes. And Indiana, and we don't have constitutional carry, but just last year they made the 4-year, I think it's a 4-year permit that we have available, is now free to obtain and free to renew. And you just have the headache of renewing it, and they dropped the price on that lifetime permit. So, yeah, because when I got mine, it was like $80 for the lifetime, plus fingerprint fee, plus paperwork fees, plus I don't know. It costs something like $125, $150 to obtain, which is still substantially cheaper than Tennessee's, and Tennessee was $75 to renew every few years. So, can you share a petition for non-Alaskan residents to say they're not going to spend tourist dollars? Yes, Alaskan ballistics. I absolutely will share that. Do you... Can you email me or send me a direct message on Instagram? Give me that link in some way while we're still on the stream, and I'll drop the link in chat for you. Yeah, I wish that... I really wish that YouTube, with the links, they would just maybe auto censor it where you have the show and hide thing, so that the hosts and moderators could just keep an eye on links and approve them one at a time. That would be a lot easier than this, because I've tried to drop a link in a live chat before, and you really have to obfuscate that if you're not a moderator. So anyway, Alaskan ballistics, either hit me through social media or shoot me an email. That's tacticalreview@protonmail.com, and I will get that listed. Matter of fact, let me get logged into my email here so that if you send it that way, I've got it. Speaking of my email, I don't know what made me think of this. For those of you who are keeping tabs on your favorite content creators on alternate platforms, I do have my BitChute account basically up to date, with the exception of my live streams. The couple of live streams that are over there pulled from... sure, they automatically pulled, but that has been very sporadic. So over the last couple of days, though, I did get my back catalog of videos over to BitChute. So yeah, if you want to, if for whatever reason you're not a fan of Gunstreamer, you can subscribe to the channel over on BitChute. We can't do premieres there. They don't have live streams yet, but I am trying to keep that up to date as well. That way, if YouTube decides to deplatform me because I show those scary guns, Yeah. BitChute will also obviously then get any build videos or gunsmithing videos that I do. I'll probably handle those the same way I did the AR-15 build video, where I upload a video to YouTube letting subscribers know that it's available, but I will upload the actual build videos to Gunstreamer and BitChute. So just keeping you guys up to date on what's going on in the life of the channel. Aside from merchandise, I'm really excited about that. I can't wait. I'll have some of that stuff in as samples, and yeah, I'll probably do something with that for upcoming giveaways. Speaking of giveaways, I haven't talked about that. I am like a squirrel tonight. It's because I drank some coffee. We are only 15 subscribers away from the 250 sub giveaway, so I'm going to guess that that will be happening here in the next couple of weeks. All right. Lawful to open carry in Ohio, but not in a motor vehicle. In a car, gun has to be separated from the ammo and out of the reach of driver or passenger. Why? So what happens if I'm in Ohio and I'm sitting in a stoplight minding my own business, and I'm stuck in the middle of traffic, and somebody comes up and busts out my window and tries to kill me? Hold on, sir. Let me grab. I got my magazine. Let me get in the for my energy weapon. Let me get in my glove box and get my gun. Okay. That's stupid. You're right. Stupid. All right. Instagram message sent from Alaskan Ballistics. Let me remember I'm not on Mac OS. Alrighty. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get this link from Alaskan Ballistics into the chat. So we will drop this in here, and we'll have some echo here in just a moment while I'm waiting on my phone. Drop this in here, and we'll have some echo here in just a moment while I'm waiting on my phone. Drop this in here, and alright, sorry about that, guys. There you go, link in the chat. Apologize about the echo. That's probably very annoying now. If only Instagram would allow direct messages in the web browser, that would have all not had to happen. Okay, so there's that change.org petition that Alaskan Ballistics has set up to not allow. Okay, here you go. Yes, I fully support that, and guys, absolutely, if you guys have local news and happenings, drop that in the chat, because we've got to stand together. We can either stand together or we can swing separately. That's how it goes. Okay, AmmoLand had a below the radar article. And this is S1519. It is the Protecting Communities and Preserving the Second Amendment Act. And this has it has some provisions for FOPA. Hey, 2A EDU's here. 2A, are you out plowing right now? Or has the snow pretty well died down up there yonder? Or did you guys not get any? I don't see that being likely, but it occasionally happens. Anyway, S1519, it has fixes for NICS. It has some FOPA-like language in it. It has efforts to tackle straw purchasing, the expansion of Project Exile. I'm not sure how I feel about this, honestly. And here's why. Let me read this. It's a quote from Senator Cruz. It says, "Our bill seeks to increase support for school safety funding." Well, here, let me help you out. Repeal the Gun-Free School Zone Act. Let's let law-abiding citizens deal with school safety. Let me deal with my children's safety when I'm at their school. Anyway, our bill seeks to increase support for school safety funding, ensure agencies accurately submit records to the NICS. See, I'm not a fan of the 4473 in the first place. Develop a federal task force to prosecute criminals who illegally purchase a firearm. The last thing we need is another federal task force. Okay, and I urge my Senate colleagues to take a stand with the people of our country and to vote in support of this legislation to stop criminals from getting guns once and for all. There's just... it reeks of pre-crime. I mean, I don't know. This author seems to think that this is a good thing. But I don't know. This smacks of not as good as what they are making it out to be. Here's the link. You guys can decide for yourselves. Like I said, it does have a Senate bill number. If it's something you like, reach out to your senators and let them know. And 2A, be safe out there. It looks like he is out plowing. Just skied all day until the moose came on the playground. Man, I want to go skiing. Okay. Another one that is under the radar is the Handgun Purchaser Licensing Act. This one's a bad one. Once again, a lot of the focus tends to be on the scary assault weapons. And, you know, some of the anti-gunners, for the short term, they're fine with having a handgun for personal defense, or good old double-barrel Joe. Get yourself a shotgun, a double-barrel shotgun. But we've got some anti-gunners that are pushing for a needs-based licensing scheme. So here's the only need I have: shall not be infringed. We don't need to license that. I've got my permit. It's the Constitution of the United States of America. Anyway, in the House, it is House Resolution 3285, and in the Senate, it is S1844. And they are wanting to build a registry. Me no likey. Drop this in here for you. Braster never considered himself on the list of law-abiding citizens. I don't make it a habit to go out of my way to break the law? Does that? I guess that's. You know, the fact of the matter is if they were to decide to make me a felon, I guess I'm going to have to own that. Go ahead, call me an extremist, call me a terrorist. What else? Call me an anarchist. I've been called all of that and more within the last 4 months, either to my face or keyboard commandos on Instagram. It is what it is. I do my best to stay within the confines of the law, I guess. I don't know. But by and large, basically, I kind of try to go by the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal and have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I just do my best not to infringe on anybody else's life, their liberty, or their pursuit of happiness, and I would appreciate everybody doing the same for me. Register all these politicians and put them in jail. You know, let's skip the registration. Kind of the old, I'm here to kick butt and take names, and I forgot my pencil. The rest of these politicians are doing this. 30. Yeah, no, Alaskan ballistics bastard, I absolutely agree with that. Once again, 100, 150, maybe 200 years ago, there was a rope for politicians or individuals who, this is treason. They have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. And they're absolutely tearing it apart. They're absolutely committing voter fraud. They're absolutely tampering with elections. They are absolutely committing treason to build their own, like, power. All right, and when I look at the current cast on the Democratic debate, you know, all these hopefuls, all I see are communists and fascists. All right, you got a bunch of people who want to preach equality, but then they want to be more equal. They want this, like, you know, everybody's equal and the government owns everything. Or you have these people that are like, oh, the government should be this all-powerful thing, and it doesn't matter if everybody's equal. The government doesn't need to own everything, but they need to be all-powerful. Well, that's fascism, if I remember my terms right. And they love to call people on the right side of the aisle Nazis and fascists, but the Democrat hopefuls who aren't straight up communists are in fact fascists. That's what they're preaching, is fascism. Yeah. They have nothing to fear because, once again, we're not tarring and feathering. We're not stringing them up. And within months or years, a live stream like this is going to be flagged as hate speech. It's thought crime. We have allowed our government to use Mr. Orwell's 1984 as a how-to manual, and that, well, the tree of liberty is looking awful thirsty. Speaking of, that seems like a terrible but decent segue into our next little subsection, wherein we are going to talk about some supposed conservatives that have shown themselves to be, well, not very. Fascists are on the left with commies. The real right supports little to no government. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. We need enough government to be a country? Yeah, I think. I mean, I can see how in modern times we need we need a more organized military than just our patriots at home, maybe, or we need some method of like a standard of, okay, it's fine, everybody has the right to keep and bear arms, sure, but we need Minutemen who are physically and mentally prepared to repel invaders. So yeah, no. Everybody's like, well, if we don't have any government, who's going to take care of this, or who's going to take care of the roads? Well, I pay a lot of taxes to my state to re-register my vehicle every year, and there's a road tax on there, and I drive a little car, and I'm constantly seeing potholes that could eat my little car. So my answer to who's going to take care of the roads? Basically anybody except the government could probably do a better job. Okay. Anyway, conservatives who are not conservatives. Fox News, and they are hated by the left, but they're still mainstream media. So I don't really trust them as far as I can go out and pick up my garage and throw it, because nobody is actually fair and unbiased anymore. So anyway, they ran an article by Holly McKay, and let's just pull out a few neat little highlights. It attempts to separate criminals from mass shooters. All right. Look, a mass shooter is a criminal. Okay, I don't know how you're going to divorce these two things in your mind. But when somebody infringes on other people's right to life, they're a criminal. Doesn't matter what they were before, the moment that they start shooting at other people who aren't first trying to harm them, they're a criminal. Anyway, because the reason for this distinction is because of the fact that this author wants to say that criminals usually use firearms that are obtained illegally, whereas mass shooters use legal firearms. Why does this matter? All right. Once again, 60% of all people who die from firearms annually, an average of 60%, do so from a self-inflicted wounds. Are we going to just ignore this number of people because it doesn't fit our agenda? Okay. Another thing that the article doesn't mention is that you have a 1 in 11.6 million odds on average annually of being a victim of an active shooter anyway. You are 16 times more likely to be a lightning strike victim than you are to be the victim of an active shooter. So anyway, and then the article wants to go and talk about the gun show loophole. Hey, less than 1% of criminals buy their firearms at a gun show. So that means that over 99% of all of the sales at a gun show are just perfectly on the up and up. So, yeah, anyway, Fox News wanting to spread anti-gun agenda because, you know, it generates clicks, and that's what you got to do. If you get your news from the mainstream media, you're doing it wrong. Unfortunately. Well, where else are you going to get your news? Well, let's go to the data and let's engage our brains. Okay. Now Trump is most anti-2A yet. Alaskan ballistics, I don't disagree. I have said all along that Trump is an old school New York Democrat, and, you know, of course, usually what I get at that point is, oh, so you would have rather had Hillary? No. I mean, I was waiting, when I went to the polls 4 years ago, I was waiting for somebody to say, April Fools, here's the real ballot. So you would have rather had Hillary. Why is that always the assumption? You know, if you critique Donald Trump, you know, for going back on his campaign promises, all of a sudden you would have just rather had Hillary. Let's see. Government should build roads, establish mail and postal system, have a standing army that's under citizens' control, prosecute crimes. Yeah, the problem is that a lot of what you mentioned, Alaskan ballistics, like building roads, well, it ends up being a contractor that builds the roads anyway. Well, maybe not. I guess the Indiana Highway Department does do, but there again, it's the state government that's doing that. Mail and postal system, you know, yeah. On the other hand, most of my stuff comes FedEx or UPS. Of course, I don't know. I'm down here in the continental U.S. That very likely changes things. I don't know. But I think we're all on the same page that we have entirely too much government. And hot on the heels of Fox News showing how pro-2A they actually are. We had another actor who just showed that Hollywood is perfectly fine with making their money off of guns, but they don't like them either. I don't know if you guys saw in the news, but Clint Eastwood says that the best thing that we could do is to get Mike Bloomberg into the presidency. So I don't know if Mr. Eastwood is, if this is a sign of dementia at age 89. But no, Mike Bloomberg is in no way the best choice for the big chair. Yeah, I would rather my ballot in November not be two rich New York Democrats, you know, Bloomberg or Trump. Maybe we can all do our job in the primaries and get something different than that. So, anyway, I was really disappointed with that because Clint Eastwood has made several pro-2A, like very vocally pro-2A comments through the years, and then to see him come out and say some stuff like that, it just, I mean, the thing is when you've got the kind of money that those folks have, they're just out of touch with reality. Ooh, hang on. What? That was a great comment that I just approved. Trump that he would cut support of the jihadis and the Syrian army, finally defeat them. Never trusted him 1 inch on constitutional stuff. Brastard, yeah. I think a lot of people. It wasn't so much that most people who voted for Clinton I think I'm safe in saying this, weren't voting for Hillary Clinton nearly as much as they were voting against Donald Trump. And I think a large number of people who voted for Donald Trump weren't voting for Trump so much as they were voting against Clinton. And he has done things such as install more conservative justices. There's things that absolutely would have been worse with Clinton in office. And Alaskan Ballistics made a really great analogy there. Someone saying, well, you didn't eat my turd, so you must like diarrhea. Yeah. That's just a great way of saying it. No, I'd really just rather not have a turd in my mouth at all. But once again, South Park hit the nail on the head. As little as I like quoting South Park, doesn't matter in every election. Your choices are always a douchebag and a crap sandwich. Hopefully everybody got their public comments in on the Form 4473, where the ATF is wanting to change that so that all information needed to build a federal registry is on the first page in Section A and B. But something I did not know when I brought that up last week is that that change was all but introduced by the United Nations. Get out of my country, blue helmets. So there's the article on that, and that's all I got to say about that. I did see, if you're down in Nevada, unfortunately, they did pass the red flag laws, extreme risk protection orders, thought crime, groupthink, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to be very honest. Once again, Indiana has a fairly egregious red flag law, and I feel like it's probably only a matter of time before, with the more vocal platform that I've taken, jumping up on Facebook and jumping on YouTube and saying anti-government things and showing these, you can't see one this week, the scary assault rifles that, somebody's going to call it in and send the police knocking on my door. So, welcome to my pain, Nevada. I'm actually very sorry. I'm being very callous about this because I'm just going to get angry if I don't. Red flag signed by a governor here in New Mexico. Maybe New Mexico is what I was thinking, and I said Nevada. I forgot to keep that tab up. I'm sorry. North of the border, and I don't mean Michigan this time, the Canadian government is trying to authorize some $400 to $600 million for a buyback of the roughly 250,000 AR-15s that are in the country. Canada does highly restrict AR-15s, and there is an absolute registry. They have the information they need to do that, but I'd like to point out that New Zealand and Australia, as much as they are bragging about their success with their buyback program, I think Australia, since the law went on the books almost 20 years ago, is sitting at like maybe a 10% compliance rate. So good for you guys up in Canada on throwing 175,310 signatures on the petition to stop that. The Canadian government officials, who will never see this live stream, by the way, the government cannot buy back something that they did not sell. A buyback is a false term. This is the taxpayers paying for stuff that's going to just be destroyed. It's stupid and it's pointless. Computer's lagging out here a little bit. Brastard, Canadians can send me any Type 81s and Tokarev rifles they don't want. Alaskan Ballistics called his senator to investigate the ATF. No investigation needed. They are an unconstitutional and thus illegal branch of the government and need disbanded immediately. And Brastard, yes, I will absolutely take any of the unwanted weapons. Because here's the weird thing. I've watched a couple of Demolition Ranch episodes where Matt and Mare went up to Canada. And there's a couple of areas where, like, their laws make more... I'm not going to say make more sense. But there's some areas where their laws are less restrictive. Like, overall, United States laws are much better on the whole. Obviously, there's states that are garbage. But there's some things, I think it's like their short barrel rifle stuff makes more sense within the confines of the rest of their laws not making any sense. Yeah, and they can still import Chinese guns, so yes. Although if there's a cache of guns that was exported from China to a non-restricted country long enough ago, then we can import those. Which is why, was it Classic that just got a big shipment? No, it was Atlantic Firearms. Just got a big shipment of Vepers released. So, show that. Why did that comment of Brastard's about the SIG 226 and 7.62x25? YouTube held that for review. Just that's YouTube, don't be dumb. I've got a couple of articles here that I just want to share to you guys. That was absolutely the wrong button. Okay, no it wasn't. One is an op-ed piece that it is the 7 fallacies from the left about gun control. If you guys are in a similar boat to me, that on your social media you have reconnected with people who were friends in high school, or etc., etc., that are left-leaning, that are anti-gun, they tend to say a lot of these stupid things, and just help you out there with some facts. A lot of times trying to put facts in front of an anti-gunner, it's like trying to put pearls in a pig's ear, or pearls before swine, however you want to say that. Regardless, there's some information. And here's a really good article. It takes 8 to 10 minutes to read. And this is actually one I've had used against me. And I'm going to just break this one down in a hurry, because it's something... Yeah, does something ever strike you as being an invalid argument, but you just can't put your hand on why? Maybe it's just me. Sometimes I use big $5 words, but I'm actually kind of dumb as a box of hammers. And the one that tripped me up in its stupidity, because I knew it struck me as disingenuous. But the whole, well, guns are designed to kill. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I use my guns a lot. I burned a lot of ammunition in 2019. And I didn't kill anyone. I didn't want to kill anyone. I thought about going hunting, but I didn't do that. So anyway, this goes through this link that I just dropped for you guys. Goes through the fact that the whole guns are designed to kill, and it's completely a logical fallacy. And it's a really good read. Maybe you'll agree with it, maybe you won't, but that link is in the chat, and not going to go through with that one. And then I have one last current event that I don't want to cover because it feels insensitive. But we need to cover it because it is a current event. It is current news, and somehow my Facebook feed is not absolutely flooded with this, although I have seen a few links. And that is that earlier today, 26th of February 2020, there was an active shooter event at the Coors Brewery in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The last number I saw is that there were 7 dead, including the shooter. And of course, Speaker Pelosi has already, jumped on her soapbox about, we need to do something about these guns, while ignoring the elephant in the room. And this is something I looked up before the stream tonight. Once again, an active killer has taken advantage of a gun-free zone to kill unarmed victims. It's right on Coors' website that their campuses are gun-free zones and that concealed carry is disallowed. So once again, gun-free zones are just fish in a barrel for these disturbed individuals who would go out to cause as much harm as they can with as little risk to themselves. And once again, they anticipate that they're not going to survive the ordeal. They don't care. An active shooting only lasts as long as it takes for the second gun to get into the fight. That's what the statistics show. They also show that the average active shooting situation is over in 3 to 6 minutes, while the average 911 response time nationwide is 10 minutes. At the end of the day, we are all responsible for our own defense and our family's defense. We have this awesome country with this awesome experiment in self-governance if we can keep it. We have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But that doesn't mean that it's free. So if we're not going to take responsibility for keeping our rights, for doing everything we can to keep our lives and our liberty, then somebody will take it from us. Alaskan Ballistics, good night, be safe, good stuff in the chat, so thanks for joining us. Alaskan Ballistics does have a channel, so make sure that you click that username and go subscribe to him if you are not. If you have caught this live stream and you are not subscribed to the channel, I would absolutely appreciate a thumbs up and click that subscribe button. Ring that notification bell so that you can see when I upload new content. Make sure that you are following the channel on social media. Right now, I am on Facebook and Instagram. That username is Tactical Review 2019. and you will get a lot more on social media than what I'm able to do on YouTube. I share memes. Some of them get a little dank. I do share news stories and gun rights information. Once again today, I shared that I shared the Joe Biden video earlier today, so you definitely get a little bit more information there. I would recommend following the channel over on either Gunstreamer or BitChute. Make sure that way if I get deplatformed for my scary free speech, that you can still catch the videos as I make them. If you are looking to support the channel, I'd really appreciate that. You can do that directly over on Patreon. If you're not in a position to do that, or you want a little bit of something for your monetary donation, you can check out the merchandise store. That's the easy link for that. I set up a bit.ly short link. That's bit.ly/TR merch. No capitals in that. That's just TRMERCH. And pick yourself up a t-shirt or a hoodie or a coffee cup. And the channel gets a little bit of a kickback for that, and you will get a snazzy shirt. More designs to come. I am just setting that up. Just got it set up yesterday, as a matter of fact. So, but that said, I'm going to, let's see. I shouted out Alaskan Ballistics. Brastard has a channel. Government arms rebels with actual machine gun and select fire. Yeah. Oh, Brastard. Yeah, we're not even going to talk about that. No, we are going to talk about that. A lot of our problems over in the Middle East are because we have used the creed that the friend or the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and we have armed these friends, and then that comes back to bite us in the butt. I'm all for defending our borders. I'm all for supporting freedom and liberty for others. But this, I just don't know how happy I am with the whole globalism thing. Kind of like the policy we had in World War II, where we were like, yeah, we just don't want to be involved. So, anyway, let's see. Who else is in here that's a content creator? 2AEDU, he is back out plowing, but he has a channel and does a live stream every Friday. Poor Conservative has a channel. Once again, DAC9894 is not a YouTube. Well, I don't think he's a YouTube creator. You can go check that out. But hit him up on Instagram. He is absolutely a graphics designer, computer generated images, things such as that. Yeah. So guys, thanks so much for joining. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to try to get some sleep before I have to go back out in the frozen wasteland tomorrow. And until next time, shoot straight, stay safe.